Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Today, we got another no sleep story. This one is actually our first repeat author, and it just so happens that they are one of my favorite authors that I've covered on here. The interaction that I had with them when I asked to use their work was very. I get the vibe that they're a very nice person. Um, and before we even get into this, it's 11velociraptors, and it looks like they have a novella in the works still, same as last time. I'll keep all that down in the description, so go check out their Reddit, read their stories. Looks like they got a no sleep like part story going on right now. That newest title looks like it might be finished, but I'm not 100% sure. I haven't read it. Uh, but yeah, check out all their other work. Give them a bunch of fucking upvotes. And obviously, I'll have this post linked down there as well, just as normal. But in the last video with them, I actually mentioned that one of my biggest fears, like ever, is someone being in my back seat while I'm driving, which is horrible. I still check. I actually I keep my back seats down, so it just goes straight into my trunk. But it's whatever. But 11 velociraptors, which I think I saw their name as Evan on here. They listened to my video, which I really appreciate, and mentioned that they actually have a story exactly about that. So the story name today is "A stranger approached my car at night with a warning. Check the backseat." And I am super hyped for this, if I'm being honest. And also, should be a pretty good recording. I'm hoping, because I'm in a pretty good mood today. Just bought a brand new motorcycle. That's right. Hey, calm down, guys. I know, I'm cool man. I got a new Honda. It's a CB650. Oh, shit. Oh, shit. That's so much fun riding that thing. But yeah, without any further babbling on about bullshit, let's go ahead and get into this hopefully very scary story. I like to think that I take my personal safety very seriously. I don't stand too close to the road while waiting for the walk signal. I have my location shared with my sister and mom, and I keep my wits about me when I'm out in public, and I try not to dawdle after getting into my car. If I had only been more diligent about that last rule, I might not be in the situation I'm in now. Early this morning, just after midnight, I was sitting in my parked car outside of my favorite grocery store. I was exhausted from picking up a friend's evening shift, so I stopped to grab dinner on my way home from work. The store is in an isolated part of town, but I had never felt unsafe in the area. Then again, I had never been out so late at night. The second I exited the store with my purchase, the old cashier closed up shop for the night and turned off all the lights in the building. Alright, we're pretty early into the story. This looks like a pretty short one, so I might interject a little more. Sorry, guys. If you don't like it, sorry. That would already sketch me out. Like, imagine walking out of a store and the cashier follows you up and locks it behind you. That's not necessarily scary yet, obviously. But, like, dude, it's like, you're such an asshole. Like, wait a couple minutes. Please let me at least get out of earshot before but whatever. Continuing on. For some reason, I did something I never do. I started eating in my car. As a precaution, I try not to linger in isolated parking lots, especially as a young woman who often has to run errands after dark. Maybe it was the hunger, or maybe to the fact that, due to a recent breakup, my house hasn't felt all that welcoming in the past few weeks. In any case, I was in no rush to return home. I pulled up an episode of The Terror on my phone and settled in to eat. I enjoyed a few minutes of blissful peace and quiet before a shout pierced through the night. I looked up from my phone and was surprised to find a woman standing in front of my car, waving her arms at me. My car was parked right in front of the store, facing towards the building, and there was only a thin sidewalk separating my vehicle from the store's exterior. I hadn't seen her coming at all. It was like she had emerged from the brick wall before me. She rounded my car, coming to a stop beside the driver's side window. She then started pointing at the ground, the universal signal for roll your fucking window down. I added the fuck in there. Don't worry, guys. Fat chance, I thought. Though she looked sane and kempt, I had no clue what her intentions were. In fact, I felt pretty vindicated in always locking my car doors immediately after entering. The woman, perhaps seeing I was making no move to exit my vehicle, then told me something that no one wants to hear. "Hey!" she shouted. "There's someone in your back seat." My mouth went dry. Time seemed to slow as 1,000 horror movie scenes raced through my head. I could almost feel the piano wire digging into my neck, the barrel pressing into my temple. I undid my seatbelt and prepared to launch myself out of the car. Now that the intruder knew I was aware of their presence, would I even have enough time to run? Again, I know this is short, so, making predictions is a little, it's going to get answered probably in the next couple paragraphs. But I'm thinking there's not an intruder, and this is actually a story about the weird kidnappers that'll say some shit like that, and then when you get out of the car, maybe I'm wrong, maybe it is. But fuck, dude, I can tell you I would freak the fuck out. I would unbuckle, and I'm not sure if any of you have ever seen the video of the guy that jumps through the fucking drive-through window. Dude, I would do that into my back seat, assuming I didn't see a gun. If I saw a gun, I wouldn't do shit. I would probably just, stop, drop, and roll. I don't know. Jump in the back seat and just start fucking confuse the guy, and then, I don't know, maybe throw a couple punches in, but I don't know. My main goal there would be to, be like, what the fuck is this guy? What is he fucking flailing on? What the fuck? And I'm just there like, no, but for real, that would freak me the fuck out. I don't even know what I'd genuinely do. No, fuck no. Fuck no. With one hand on the door handle, I store... Alright, guys, alright. Relax, sorry. Didn't mean to fuck up. With one hand on the door handle, I stole a glance into the rearview mirror and saw no one. My car is a compact hatchback, meaning there's very little room for a person to hide in my cabin. Even in my exhausted state, I would have noticed someone upon looking into the mirror. My terror fading into confusion, I turned around in my seat, surveying the cabin with my own eyes, and confirmed that there was no one in my back seat. That was a bad click. A little better. Do one more. Whatever. Doesn't matter. Click. When I turned back around, the woman had taken another step closer to my car. Her body was barely a foot from my door, and her fingers were wrapped around the handle. There were a few more deep clicks as she tried, unsuccessfully, to open the locked door. I raised my gaze, and she gave me an odd smile, as though she and I were sharing a private joke. Holy shit, okay. I'm not even sure if this is the payoff yet. But fuck, dude. That actually, that about... Dude. Just the thought of looking back and she's just... Oh my god, that is scary as shit. Damn. No, I'm trying to imagine that I'm just imagining she's deadpan, fucking, before she was concerned, oh, and now she's fucking... No. Oh my god. No, that's almost scarier than someone being in your back seat, if I'm being honest. People are so fucking scary. But whatever. Continue on. It'll probably get even scarier. Holy shit. For the first time, using the faint glow of the street lamp, I took a closer look at the woman's face. Her skin was stretched tightly across her skull, making her thin mouth and nostrils appear as though they'd been cut onto her. Her eyes were deep-set and ovate. Her teeth seemed both too small and too numerous. I allowed myself a brief moment to gawk at the face before me, and then I threw my car into reverse and hightailed it out of the lot. For a few disheartening seconds, the woman held onto the door, keeping in step with my vehicle as I backed up. Luckily, she soon let go, and I drove away, my mind racing with the realization that the woman was trying to bait me out of my car. Even more disturbing was the fact that it had almost worked. I wondered if she had others with her that I simply hadn't seen, and what she had wanted from me. I hoped I had narrowly escaped a robbery as opposed to something much, much more sinister. Dude, it just got worse with each fucking sentence, dude. So suddenly there's a woman there. I'm still imagining just deadpan look, but the face is also like Uncanny Valley. And then she fucking... Damn, no. I even fucked up reading like a very easy sentence to read up there because I was just kind of in shock. Like that's creepy. I got back to my house 20 minutes later, still shaken from my encounter. I rushed inside the house and made sure that all my doors and windows were locked. My exhaustion did nothing to soothe my nerves. My mind played tricks on me as I got ready for bed, conjuring up flashes of the woman's face in the dark corners of my house. Once I finally fell asleep, my fears followed me from the waking world. I had a long, vivid nightmare, most of which I've either forgotten or is irrelevant to this account. All I know is that when I jolted awake some hours later, it was to the sound of a frantic bang on my front door. I sat up in bed, unsure if I was still dreaming or not. My alarm clock read 4:17. It was far too early for someone to be knocking on my door unless there were some kind of emergency, which, given the forcefulness of the knocks, there may have been. Slowly, I rose from my bed and inched towards the entryway. I had never before been in such a situation and was at somewhat of a loss as to how to react. I didn't smell a fire, thankfully, but that didn't mean that all was well. Alright, this bitch is about to fall for the same fucking trick again. Do you think there's a gun in her house? If there's a gun in her house, she should have grabbed it. If there's not a gun, probably should have got a knife at least. You literally, like, this just happened to you. Today, the same fucking thing happened to you. Whatever. Suddenly, I heard a man's voice calling out my name in a questioning tone. It sounded vaguely familiar, but I couldn't immediately place it. "Who is it?" I called back. "Brian," answered the disembodied voice, and relief washed over me. My neighbor Brian lived in the house across the street. We weren't close exactly, but I often saw him walking down the block with his dog, Bailey. I turned on the entryway light, but as I was still in my sleepwear, I didn't want to open the door unless I had to. Instead, I called back to him. "What's the matter?" "Well," he began. I heard his voice crack, and he cleared his throat. "Do you have someone over right now?" "What?" I asked, my heart skipping a beat. "No, I don't. Why do you ask?" "Well, the dog had to go out, and while I was in the yard with him, I thought I saw someone near your front window, someone who didn't look quite right." I stilled, feeling as though I was still in some terrible dream, turning around and glancing down the dark hallway. I wished I had turned on more lights on the way to answer the door. "She followed you home," I thought. "She's in your house with you right now." I was ready to bolt out the door into the cold, but by some miracle I had just enough presence of mind left to consider my neighbor's words more carefully. Something was wrong. I stepped away from the door. "Are you all right, Brian?" He cleared his throat again, and when he next spoke, his voice sounded slightly different from before, as though he were testing out a new timbre. "Of course. I just got a bit cold out here, but I still wanted to check in on you." My voice wavered as I questioned my neighbor. "But your dog, isn't it a girl?" Brian didn't respond. My mind reeled in torturous silence, trying to discern whether the threat was outside the door or inside the house with me. After a full minute of complete stillness, the handle to my front door began to move. It rotated downwards as far as it could before the lock stopped it, then shook as the person on the other side of the door pulled on the handle. This happened several more times as the person tested my lock, and then there was a powerful bang, as though someone had rammed into my door with all their might. After that, there was silence again. I stood frozen in place for another minute. I had no peephole, but I worked up the nerve to walk into the living room and peer through the blinds into my front yard. In the distance, walking down the street away from my house, was a figure. Although I couldn't see the face, something deep within me knew it was the same person who had tried to open my car door. I watched her walk away into the quiet night until she disappeared from my view. Needless to say, I didn't get much sleep for the rest of the night. I split my time between roaming the perimeter of my house, looking for anything suspicious, and sitting in my kitchen running the events of the night over in my head. The most likely explanation was that I'd been dreaming. After all, I'd nearly been baited into opening my door to a potential criminal just hours earlier, so it made sense that I'd have a nightmare about a similar situation. Then again, I had never, in my entire life, had a dream so vivid. Maybe, somehow the woman really did follow me home. She easily could have stuck a tracker on my car, but how in the world did she know Brian's name, and how had she impersonated him so well? The sun is setting now. I haven't left the house all day. I've been too haunted by the idea of someone, or multiple someones, trying to draw me out into the open. No matter how many times I check the house, I still feel as though I catch glimpses of the woman in my periphery, of her beady eyes and uncanny smile. I suppose I should try and get some sleep now, impossible as that seems at this point. I just needed to jot this down before I went to bed in case A, anything happens to me, and B, you ever think about blindly trusting the warnings of a stranger. Ooh, dude, that story was a fucking banger. But first of all, call the cops. Call the cops the first time. Obviously, call the cops the second time. Even if you think it's a dream, you gotta call the cops. All right, they'd figure it out. Next comment I have is, I thought that this protagonist was going to be stupid, but I actually really appreciate that they're smart. I know I kind of said earlier, I was like, you just fucking did this. Like, are you going to fall for it again? So I thought she was going to fall for it again. But she got that shit both times, and that second one was actually pretty good. Coming up with the neighbor's voice. They hadn't slipped up that little bit. That was really good. I like how the protagonist was written. I genuinely think this story has scared me the most out of all the stories that I've read on my channel so far. I know this has like a little bit of supernatural, and it just has a lady with an uncanny smile or some shit, but the only thing that I would say could be improved upon, in my personal opinion, I'm sure, I don't think it actually has that much effect on the story, or I honestly don't know how many people would agree with me on this one, is basically what I'm trying to say. But I think I'd prefer if it was just a normal weird motherfucker. Like, completely no uncanny, well, a little bit of uncanniness, but like just a person staring like this, like, I'm not very good at the uncanny smile, I don't think. I couldn't see myself, but I don't think that was great. But just someone looking at you in such a weird way, I think is a lot better than an entity. You know what I mean? It feels like it doesn't really do anything for it. And then I think them showing up at the house is scarier too if it's not an entity. Because then that's just a motherfucker stalking you to the point where they know your neighbor's name. I think that's creepy. But at the same time, I guess that then the neighbor wouldn't have had any reason to come over, which I know it's not the neighbor, but either way, this was fantastic, and I do feel genuinely scared now. So I record these in my basement, obviously with a black curtain behind me. It's not dark in this room, it's just the curtain. You can actually see the light up there. But my basement isn't attached to my house, and I am not looking forward to walking outside of my basement. I'm looking forward to killing these fucking bugs. Jesus. Sorry. I'm not looking forward to walking out of this basement and walking up around my house to my front porch. Like, that's... Walking like that is normally a little scary to me. I just pull out my flashlight and I'm good. But I'm scared today. I think I might take extra long to edit this. I don't like editing. I'm not going to do that. But, yeah, no, that story was fantastic. 11velociraptors still doing great things. Yeah, but it's, as far as I know, they've wrote a shit ton of good stuff. And like I said earlier, they're super nice. So please go read more of their stuff. I'm hoping I read more of their stuff in the future too, because oh my fucking god. I think I saw a list on their account, and actually I think they have this listed as like their 4th scariest story in their opinion. Yeah, here it says, here are what I believe to be my best, scariest horror stories. And this is number 4. So, I can only imagine the top 3. Fantastic. Absolute cinema. Make a short film. Alright, but I think that's all I got for you guys today. I hope you have a wonderful day. And I hope you subscribe. And I hope you comment. And like I said last couple of times, leave a rating in the comments. Let me know what you thought of the story. And yeah, I think that's all we got. Not doing a 2-sentence horror story today. But have a wonderful one.